just so that you understand what's happening, currently we're in a lawsuit, and like every lawsuit, there's a plaintiff and a defendant. The plaintiff is the Township of Lakewood, and the defendants are the residents of Penn City. Lakewood, probably, what was it, in July of 2010, moved to have Penn City closed down, and to have Penn City, we could say, evicted or rejected, and the judge did not grant us that permission. Our motion was denied, and he told us that we needed to go, as the steps went along, to the discovery. The people from Penn City have some strong backing behind them. The American Civil Liberties Union, they have a pretty powerful law firm that's representing them as well. I believe it's pro bono. Can we get you pro bono? And the judge did not allow for all the discovery after all the discovery, the judge did not allow us to proceed with that eviction or that ejection, and he asked us to do certain things and to try to enter into mediation with them. So that's really where we're standing. However, as many people in this room have told me privately, which is why I wanted to sort of gather all this information together, I'm sure that the judge did not mean, and I can't speak for the judge, but I'm sure that if there's a problem with the health and safety of the community, then that's something that needs to be addressed.
I'd like to begin with the following statement, which I think accurately reflects everyone's opinion in this room. We greatly appreciate the outreach and good that is being done in Penn City. We sympathize with people who are genuinely homeless and agree that they have rights and needs just like we do. However, for everyone's best interest and safety, the residents of Penn City must be relocated to a real shelter where they can regain their human dignity and receive the genuine help that they need and deserve. Our purpose in gathering here tonight is to bring to the Lakewood Township's attention the increasingly negative impact that the Penn City is having on our neighborhood and our community. About 3 years ago in 2010, the Penn City was home to about 30 individuals. Today, as we're about to enter 2013, there's close to 100 people living on the site. This is causing numerous problems for people like us who live in the neighborhood. The open fires that are lit each night spread smoke and soot over the neighborhood, and quite frankly are a terrible fire hazard, putting our lives and homes in danger. In addition, the smell of the smoke is very strong, almost unbearable, making it uncomfortable to be outside, as well as inside, as the smoke penetrates our homes, leaving a lingering, unpleasant smell. Another major concern we have regarding the smoke and the soot is the health of our children, the elderly, and the infirm. The smoke makes it difficult to breathe and is damaging to our lungs and to the heart. I happen to know of one particular family whose child requires a ventilator pumping constant oxygen to survive. They have been forced to make numerous trips to a local hospital due to the toxic fumes that are emanating from Penn City. In regard to the local traffic, the smoke is so thick at times, it limits visibility on Cedar Bridge Avenue. The Department of Environmental Protection has received many complaints from residents in the area concerning the smoke. Unfortunately, we have yet to receive a response to our complaints. Our neighborhood is also subject to homeless individuals who are coming and going to and from Penn City. There's lots of trespassing, public urination, tossing empty bottles and other refuse onto private property, as well as the open use of alcohol and illegal substances. Hardly the types of things you would want your children or yourself to witness. We understand that the township, as Mr. Lichtenstein has mentioned, has appeared in court with regard to evicting the Penn City occupants and have come to a temporary agreement. My understanding of the agreement is as follows. The Lakewood Township has agreed to eliminate the need for the homeless camp by identifying a temporary location, perhaps within Ocean County, where homeless individuals will be provided with a safe and adequate emergency shelter. Our position is, if the township does not take full action now, regardless of all cost and difficulty involved, it will most likely be much more costly and even more difficult to take action at a later date. As part of the agreement, the 10 city representatives agreed to contain the homeless encampment by 1, not encouraging or bringing new homeless individuals to the premises, not advertising the camp, not building any additional structures or complete any structures that were under construction at the time, and finally, not improving the facilities at the premises for expansion purposes, such as using power generating facilities, waste disposal facilities, or water delivery systems. Unfortunately, these 4 agreements have been breached repeatedly.
There are constant fires burning that create a huge fire hazard. At times, my home smells like a fireplace. If my wife were to leave her laundry in the dryer overnight, by morning the clothes are unusable due to its stench of smoke. My daughter, who was diagnosed with a case of asthma, suffers constantly from the poor air quality. It's like living in secondhand smoke. My wife is afraid to go outside by herself. She is traumatized by instances of public urination. My children don't want to play outside because they are constantly scared and intimidated from the homeless people and their dogs. My son is scared to walk off the school bus alone. This is not the Lakewood I should be living in. I feel that my quality of life as a tax-paying resident of Lakewood has been severely diminished. I recognize and appreciate the steps the township has taken thus far, but I feel that the situation is spiraling out of control.
For the past 4 years, it started with a little fire. You know, nobody really bothered, you know. A small tent doesn't bother anybody. But it became, every night I come home, it's a cloud. You walk into the building with Cedar Bridge, the elevator stinks. Everything. And everybody's afraid to say anything. Why? Homeless. It's not fair. They're homeless. They don't want to be taken care of. Obviously, they even state on the YouTube video that they're drug addicts, they're alcoholics, they're thieves, and they don't want to participate in any program. I don't think we should suffer because they don't want to obey the law or obey any programs that the government offers them. Thank you.
He became the biggest drug dealer in the neighborhood. Everyone else in the neighborhood, everyone in the neighborhood knows about it besides the cops. We call the cops to come every time. And what I'm trying to get to is that he services the whole 10 city. I see all the homeless guys walking up to his house, getting the drugs, getting it, and walking back to it. But it's not only that it's in their neighborhood. They live closer to Elm, closer to Cedar Bridge. We live all the way by Pine Street. And they're all the way coming out all the way to there. And it's really affecting it. Sorry, and the public works guy came by to give me a ticket because I have furniture sitting there, outside there. So I told him, why don't you go down the block to 10 City to give them a ticket for all the garbage they have sitting in the front there. He said, that's different. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, sharing my thoughts and feelings. We're all interdependent and connected to each other. I do not live in the immediate area. I as an individual, we as a community embrace immigration. This is how most of us and all of us got over here. I have one grandfather who was a dentist in the Navy. I have an immediate family member who was in the United States Marine Corps. We fight for the country. This is how we get here. I would like to present this from a different perspective, not just to protect us as a group. I would like to discuss this as to protect them, the people living over there. We care, I care, we all care. As some of us mentioned, is people that live in such settings, sooner or later, do get involved in some type of crime. First is the parents needing to support the children. They need to have children needing to support the parents. That comes through all kinds of forms of illegal drugs and things that we don't want to mention over here. So, although immigration is important and beautiful, and this is what made this country a beautiful country, we need to have a goal, and to protect us, to protect them, there need to be clear settings as to what is okay and what isn't okay. The crime, anybody who wants to think in 5 years and 10 years, who over here is willing to take responsibility to say, it's not my responsibility. It's growing out of control, and all of us deserve to have a beautiful life. Just a little about myself. I remember being in one of the hotels over here Now, going back, Lakewood was, I did some research when I did a master's. We had the Gills, the Rockefellers. It was a beautiful town. When air travel became inexpensive, some of these hotels became boarding homes for all types of population, and we commend you for taking care of that. It became a nicer place. Now we have other people that are moving in. We deserve to have a better town, and I look forward to seeing that in the near future. Thank you.
And I get very often public urination, trespassing. As a matter of fact, my wife sits on the front lawn, and many times these homeless individuals walk by, knocking into her, ignoring her, and as if she doesn't exist.
I just want to point out that all these people that you're talking about, as if they're like not people and you're scared of them saying hello to your children, they were regular normal people just like you and I, and they fell on really hard times. If anyone would take the time to actually talk to them, see who they are. Some of them were doctors, some of them were lawyers. They had horrific stories. Each one has a more horrible story than the next, okay? And the fact that you talk about them as if like you used them when they were your employees and then you said, okay, goodbye, it's been nice knowing you. That's not the way we deal with people. These are human beings and we have to deal with them. That being said, the whole problem that was created because there's a vacuum in Lakewood. The vacuum is because we have a police force that doesn't really care about quality of life issues. They ignore quality of life. They ignore when you could have a dance party in the middle of your block and you call the police and they'll say, look, we can't do anything. That's just the way it's been. It's always been that way. They've never really done anything to help serious issues that go on. For example, I had a homeless person walk into my store, drop his pants in the middle of my store. There was nobody to call. We called the police. They said, sorry, we can't help you.
Did you engage him in conversation as to his tough background?
Not while his pants were down, but yes. What I'm saying is that...
I'm just trying to connect your first statement, which insinuated that we view them as less than human.
No. Some people said statements that were just a little bit insensitive sounding. That's all I'm saying. I didn't say it was you.
Maybe they can be moved into Tent City.
I didn't say it was you. Okay. What I'm saying is that unfortunately Tent City became sort of the place where we push all these problems under the rug.
These are not our problems.
You're right.
95% of those people are not even Lakewood people. They came from,
a lot of them are, and a lot of them are people that have been hanging around Lakewood for years.
Maybe 5%
None
of
of
them.
them. Listen, I lived on Lexington and 6th Street, okay, and I had a building next door to me that had people living in the hallways. We called the police for years. We called the police, and they never did anything. The people lived in the hallways. They had dance parties on the street. Nothing ever got done, and they would always just blame the slumlords. They would say it's the landlord's fault. It's the landlord's fault. It's the landlord's fault. There needs to be a concerted effort by the police. It's not just as far as the homeless camp is concerned. We have to focus on the homeless camp, getting rid of the homeless camp, and finding an alternative place for them to live. Now, especially because of Hurricane Sandy, there are tons of resources to find them a place to live. There's so many resources that the Township Committee should be focusing on to be able to find them a place to live that's respectful, that can give them a sense of purpose and a sense of life. But that being said, we have tons of people walking the streets, wandering the streets. They end up at the homeless camp. That's the problem. That is the problem. The homeless camp became the place for them to go. And until the police actually focus, walk up and down the streets, deal with the problems. I had one woman come to complain to me that there was a man who, I can't say it in public, did something very unmentionable, and a police officer told her, look, what do you want from me? He's just going to be back on the street again tomorrow. Anyway, don't bother pressing charges. I personally stood there. I called the police on 2nd Street. There was a man cursing families, cursing people walking up and down the street, just sitting there. The police officer came and told me, well, if you want, you can go file a complaint. I went. I filed a complaint. Nothing ever came of it. No one ever discussed it. There's a basic, you know, we don't want to know, we don't want to see when it comes to the police dealing with quality of life issues, dealing with the homeless, dealing with people who are living on the streets, dealing with people who are hurting the quality of life of homeless. And once that gets addressed, and once we can address the homeless encampment and find a place for those people to live, I think the entire lake will be a better place to live.
I'd just like to wrap up. Does anyone want to speak?
Yes,
I'd just like to say a couple things.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. I'm new in this town. I only lived here about a year, a little more than a year. I don't know each and one of your titles, but I do know Rabbi Lichtenstein, a short period of time that I've lived here, I've gotten to know him a little bit personal, and so I can tell all of you from personal experience that if someone has a real passion for this community, if someone really wants to help us, we're in good hands with him. He's going to do everything that we can, and I know the only thing I would like to add is that we are talking about how we are disadvantaged, just like he said, and I just want to refer to what this gentleman just said. The people who are in real danger of losing their lives are the people actually living there. So if we care about them, we should not let them live there, because it's not a question of when there's going to be a big fire and hundreds of people are going to die. It's a question of when. And this town could be held accountable for allowing it, and then there are potentially millions of dollars of losses that will end up going on the backs of the residents. It's just their own safety. It's not like it's just disadvantage us. There could be a massive fire there and hundreds of people die overnight. Thank you very much.
We understand that this problem of tent city is a problem that can't be dealt with overnight. And the reason we got to this situation is because of that. There's no one to blame for what happens here. I have guns and my family's protected. I don't feel threatened by the people walking by my front door every night. The point is that there's a limit to what public officials could do and what a township could do to solve a problem. And that's the reason for this meeting tonight.
For that matter, I think that the offices in this town are just as concerned as we residents are with quality of life issues. I think it should be noted on the record that this is not a bash the police department meeting. This is a meeting of concerned citizens who, if you listen carefully, everyone has a nuanced way of expressing themselves, including my next door neighbor. However, at the end of the day, this is one issue and one issue only. Quality of life issues and our concern for the sanctity of human life. The people in Tent City are human beings. We don't view them as Martians or aliens from another country or another world, okay? We understand that many of them are probably victims of the tough economic times that this country has been undergoing and currently faces. It's not a secret that the last few years have been very difficult. Having said all that, at the same time, we firmly believe that our township has a responsibility to deal with the issue in a kind, compassionate, humane way. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and I know it's a little warm in here, so I'll talk quickly. The purpose of this meeting was really to gather information from you, and I imagine that just about everybody in this room, gauging by the applause, was supporting what most of the speakers said to us tonight. I will tell you, and I'm going to ask my attorney to stop me as soon as I cross the line into discussing litigation, that I'm not allowed to. It has been our position that Tent City should be closed. That is what we wrote in the court papers. I mean, that's public knowledge. It has been our position to move everybody in Tent City to safe housing. As a matter of fact, we have worked with the county. We've had social workers and other caseworkers go down, and probably as little as a year and a half ago, there has been a home or a place offered to every single person that lives there. We arranged it with the county. We offered them a place to go. They did not want to go. Then the town spent some taxpayer dollars and hired a company to get in and infiltrate, we'll call it, into the fabric of Tent City. And that was through steps, I believe, with that organization. And they were successful in actually convincing people to leave. However, there have been forces in Tent City who are convincing people to come, who are getting articles written in magazines and on websites, inviting people to come to the very best tent city in the United States of America. We have a problem with that. We have a problem with the fact that our firemen, our police officers, and our EMTs are in danger when they go into a situation where sometimes they can't get a fire truck to. Or where it's very dark in the middle of the night, you can't see where you're going, it's a very haphazard situation, and our first responders are at risk. We don't have a choice. Our first responders need to go in there. They don't want a fire to start, and aside, God forbid, from the people in Tent City getting hurt, the neighbors getting hurt. And we, of course, just as important to us is the concerns that you all brought up here tonight. We are going to investigate what you said. I'm going to ask our police department to do a thorough look with our inspection department, and I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Ackerman, I'm sure he'll agree with me on this, to investigate if, in fact, the tent city has grown, which I don't think it's going to take a rocket scientist to figure that out. We are going to very seriously take a look at your concerns by patrolling the neighborhood, either with our police department or our inspection department. And once we have that information, that is something that we will be able to use as we continue along this discussion with Tent City. So I know that you all took time to come out here tonight. I want you to know that what you did tonight to protect your families and your neighborhood is important. What you did tonight, by the numbers of 70 probably people fit into a room that I think the marshal allowed 44 in, is important to us. It's important for us to hear with the passion that you speak of. It's important just to hear about asthmatics that are having a hard time with smoke. It's important for us to hear about urination on your front lawns. It's important for us to hear about the fact that at night, when you're in an elevator, you feel like you're stifled because of the smoke. Now, this isn't about you. This is about the residents in Tent City. We've seen people die in fires. We've seen people get hit by cars. And we've sometimes had a rather difficult time accessing in case of an emergency because of the situation there. So thank you for coming out. Your words that you spoke tonight are not going to go unnoticed. We are going to do something with it. We appreciate you coming out here tonight, and please, for those of you that spoke, our attorney may get in touch with you at a later date to understand more of your concerns and to get some more details. We ask that if in the investigation of this matter that you brought even more clearly to our attention, he contacts you, please cooperate and speak to him or his office so that we have the information we need to make sure that all of the citizens of Lakewood are protected. Thank you very much for coming in. We offered them county-funded facilities in different places in Ocean County and in other counties. A lot within Ocean County. They did not want to go. It is now, what the attorney said before, is exactly part of what the discussions are in front of the judge. Exactly your question is exactly part of what's being discussed. You offered a place to go. Well, if I live in Lakewood and you offer me a place in Brick, is that considered that you offered me something? If I want to stay in Lakewood, but I'm not from Lakewood and I came, what you're all discussing is exactly what's being discussed in front of us right now.
Burning a fire that's hurting the person once, 2, 3 times after I'm locked up. It's as simple as that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So I understand as far as the legalities of illegal, of housing, etc. is very complicated. But in the short term, very, very simple. Somebody is making a fire next door to me, both in secular law, we know, in religious law, it's universal, global, accepted all over. You're next door to me, you have the right to do whatever you want as long as it doesn't infringe on my liberties. They are infringing. As simple as that. How are they allowed to keep doing that?
You want to answer?
Yeah, I think what we're here tonight is to get the information from all of you as to those events that have infringed. And we are taking all that information down, and we are going to process it and do what we think is
right, but I'm saying in
not
the short term, in the very, very short term.
Very, very short term.
In the very, very short term, you cannot drive, you cannot leave without choking.
We're not going to process it. Hopefully, we're not going to process it at the typical government.
Okay, no, I'm saying, and you say the house is a much bigger issue,
if it's illegal,
but the fire should be that much quicker.
It's not coming to arrest them. Just on the fire is the problem, not the fire living there. It's illegal.
What you don't want to hear, and it's not fair to tell this to you, but I'll say it, and then understand that we're going to back it, okay? Is the blame game. It's his fault, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. We don't enforce fires. The fire marshal does. The fire marshal is a function of the county. Okay, so that, very easy for me to say, okay, sorry, go call the county. We're not saying that.
Can we make a joint
Why
meeting?
did you invite the fire
Absolutely.
marshal?
I've called them numerous times.
No, but if you have a joint meeting with both sides, this way it'll be harder, obviously, to pass the buck.
And I think that may be one of the things that we'll be looking into.
Why would property be sold to a private individual who can then evict people from their own property?
That's a legal question, I'm not going to answer that.
In other words, does a private individual have different rights than the township?
No, it's a cleaner. It does, but again, you're asking me a legal question as to whether or not, if the town were to sell to a private party, would a private party be more successful in being able to evict them? Definitely, because it's. But I know that private parties and public parties have different rights.
Yes.
And different obligations.
Is there an investigation open against the people that organize it for aiding and abetting all that criminal activity? Forget about the people that are there. If there's people organizing that, is there a criminal investigation ongoing or open?
I don't know if it's. I'm not allowed to answer.
In other words, if we went in there tomorrow as a group of citizens and evicted them personally, would we get arrested?
Hold on, Chief.
Would we get arrested for taking down their fence? That's where it's coming from.
Thank you.